Well, all right, let's talk about Carlton Davis III, former Buccaneer who was traded to the Detroit Lions. And I think a lot of people were interested in what this means. What are the Lions getting with someone like Carlton Davis? And at times, he can be absolutely great. And I think the first thing I think about with Davis is his postseason run with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020 when they won the Super Bowl. He held Michael Thomas to 0 yards in the game against the Saints, which Thomas was banged up, but it was still an impressive, 0 yards is 0 yards, right? And then he also did a really good job on Davante Adams in the conference championship game. Like, this is a good example, I think, where everyone remembers the, kind of the 3 interceptions by Tom Brady and how the Packers weren't really able to get anything going. But the secondary in general was a huge part of it, and I actually think Carlton Davis was the biggest part of that kind of being able to stop them there with his ability to do great work on Davante Adams, like what you see on this play. Watch how when it begins pretty quickly into the play, we're about 2 seconds in, which to be honest, you kind of do want to be 2 seconds in. You might only have a half second or another second to get open, so we're actually pretty far into the play by cornerback standards, right? This is usually what you want to make sure you can give your defensive lineman to try and generate pressure a little bit longer than this. But that's not even really what I'm talking about here. Sure, okay, appears to be covering Adams, fine. But Rodgers isn't even looking in that direction. And I mean, think about that. You have a one-on-one matchup with Davante Adams on a 3rd down and 5, and Rodgers isn't even focused there. To me, that is the real value here. Pressure does come quickly after that. Rodgers isn't able to make anything happen. But the fact that, Carlton Davis was at a certain point playing Adams so well, Rodgers didn't even look in that direction, it just goes to show how good of a job he was doing in that game. Granted, another example I do think of that game has been something that's kind of plagued Carlton Davis for his career. So he's usually great at these kind of being able to cover guys in one-on-one situations. He's known for being a very good man corner, which, for Detroit, they got some, good receivers they're going to have to go up against. You have DJ Moore for Chicago, obviously Justin Jefferson, which I still don't think I would trust Davis one-on-one against Jefferson, but still, you have some good receivers. We've seen Davis be able to cover good receivers. This is his one weakness, though, which is it's going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling, which you might think, oh, wait, that's not that's fine, right? That's a one-on-one matchup, but that MVS, certainly not as good as Davante Adams. Well, when his play begins, he's not as good as Davante Adams. He is faster than Davante Adams and faster than Carlton Davis, who is currently a little bit behind. Davis, not the fastest corner, and has always been susceptible to getting beat with speed, which is never a good thing. Now, he's kind of doing what you can. It's not like he's getting completely burned out of the play altogether, but because his back is turned towards the quarterback, he can't play the ball, whereas MVS can because he's a step behind. Because of this, kind of just guesses, jumps out trying to knock the ball away, misses, and MVS gets the touchdown instead. That was a big touchdown for Green Bay at the point in that game to tie the game at 7. And while these plays are now from a few years back, I would say that this is still currently kind of how I feel he is. Now, I think it's also fair to say last season, he did not have his best year. In fact, he was, I would say, actively not good last year. This play is an example of just he was getting beaten other ways, it felt like at times. It's going to be a one-on-one matchup on the outside, which he saw a lot of. And that was kind of maybe my biggest theory was, is it possible Tampa Bay just asked so much of him due to the corner injuries they had? A lot of times they couldn't afford to give him help. They had to give help elsewhere. This is him one-on-one against Drake London as well. And you're going to see when Desmond Ridder takes the snap, he looks in that direction, fires in that direction, and you see London, he's gotten open. There's some separation right here. This was not a great job by Davis. London finishes the play. It was a good throw by Ridder. Davis makes a tackle, at least, but, he had maybe too many opportunities to make tackles last season. I think that's a very fair thing to say about what happened. I would also mention, though, that that's kind of the life of a corner in general in the NFL, though, as corners will have these very up and down seasons. So while I didn't think he was particularly very good last year, I thought he actually played better down the stretch toward the end of the season. He also did have some injuries, and that's another issue. He has missed playing time in each of the last 3 seasons, so although he still had over 700 snaps in all of those seasons. So it's not like he's getting injured for the year. And I would also say he still is capable of making some plays, like something like this, where what's going to happen is it's just a screen pass. And one of the things that Tampa Bay fans will tell you is, he doesn't get a lot of interceptions. And while that's true, that doesn't mean he can't make big plays. And I think one thing that I really do like about him is he is a very smart player. Okay, it's going to be a screen pass. That's where Davis is on the field. And what I know from after this game, apparently what happened was they had seen this on film and they had practiced this kind of thing happening. And Davis is now reading the play. So right when it begins, you see how he's already stepping in. He's already convinced. He's not falling for this potential fake whatsoever. And the way that this Arthur Smith weird play was designed is to have Desmond Ridder, currently he's looking towards absolutely nobody. He's seeing 0 people on the field, Ridder is, which is probably not ideal. Ridder blindly throws it, and Davis does get the interception here. And while it might not always result in interceptions, wasn't ruled a pick six, he was ruled down, but still, it was a big play for them in that game. And for Davis, he doesn't always get a ton of picks, but he will get some interceptions, and I don't think he has bad hands or anything. I think he just doesn't get thrown to a lot, for one, and for two, I would say he still is capable of making a good read and making a good play. These are things that for the Lions, they really value someone who can make a big play in several different ways. That's something that they really do, care about. Last season, that was kind of what their defense was built around, right? It gave up yards, but would also make big plays. Davis, I would assume, even if he isn't quite as good as he once was, he should be able to make some good plays. If we look at Carlton Davis's contract, one thing worth mentioning is the guy's 28 years old. So he is not an old player by any means. And in fact, if he has a good year, he could earn himself a nice payday once again going into his 29th season. You see there's 3 void years on there because Tampa Bay loves their void years, but that's, irrelevant to what Detroit is paying. They're paying him $14 million, which is no small amount of money. It's a good amount of money. It is. And I think the one argument you could maybe look at with this is, could they have potentially gone with somebody else who's on the market? There is reports that perhaps L'Jarius Sneed could be on the trade market. I don't know. Do I think Sneed's probably a better player? Yeah, I probably think so. But at the same time, I think they're giving up a hell of a lot more than just a 3rd round pick for someone like Sneed. To me, I think this is a very good move by the Detroit Lions. I do. I think that they desperately needed a corner. This is someone who isn't just someone who has had success, but he has had success in a Super Bowl run, which is very important. Yes, he's inconsistent. Well, find me a corner who isn't. Corners get beat. It's the day of, corners in today's NFL. It's the most impossible position to play. You're going to have bad years. Marlon Humphrey had that horrible year a couple years ago. Jalen Ramsey had a horrible year one year. It happens. Guys have bad years. I would look at the overall larger sample size of Carlton Davis being good and buying low on a guy like that, whereas you don't have to pay a ton of money. And if he does work out, you could be looking at a potential, superstar level corner at a massive position of need. And I think that could be honestly the difference in them being a bad team versus, not that bad team, but being a team that is flawed and maybe can't get over the hump to a team that could win the Super Bowl. Guys like this, they added another corner as well. They're addressing that position, which is what they had to do. They can't just hope for the guys they had to start getting better. No, you got to address the position. That's what they're doing, and I just think it's a really smart move. So I am a fan of what the Detroit Lions did. And if you really want to know my if you want to take me at my word, I'm a Tampa Bay fan, and I'm very disappointed this trade happened. So you should feel good about that if you're a Detroit Lions fan. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.